I've been thinking for many days now at what Trisha Paytas has done, what she said, the effects of what she said, how bad the impact has been on what she said. And it's come to a realization of really two sides. One side is what Trisha's done is terrible. And on the other side, you ask questions as to how someone could be feeling so down that they feel like they have to do this on the internet. And I've tried to analyse the situation on both ends. And I'm going to try my best to explain that in best detail that I can. What I mean by this is what I try to do is I try to find the best in the worst people and the worst in the best people. And this is the best way that you can analyse someone. It's almost like if you argue with somebody, always when you're arguing with them, you find out who they truly are. You never really know their bad side if you're always on the good side. So for me, it's always about, if I don't like someone on the internet, then I've got to try and find the best in them. Because there's good in everybody, no matter what anyone says, no matter how bad somebody is, there's always some good somewhere. Whether that good is ever shown or not, that's another story. And whether the good is being shown in Trisha or not, that is another story. But is there good in Trisha? Yes. Has she affected me significantly? Yes. Has she affected the entire mental health community? Most probably. Has she made me feel worse? Yes. But can I try and find some good from this? I don't know. That's what I want to try and figure out. You see, the thing is, people have to understand that for Trisha to do this, there must be something underlying. As you guys know, she faked, allegedly, as it appears, she faked having dissociative identity disorder. But for someone to fake, in a way, a certain disorder, for me, it looks like you're trying to identify in a category that you are not. But it also might be a plea for help. A plea of, people, can you help me? I'm clearly in trouble. Look, you got to understand, guys, that I am in the category of people that feel attacked from Trisha Paytas. I feel like she's personally attacked me by calling me crazy, and I'll get onto that in a minute. But the thing is, for me, is you can't help just think something significantly is going on in Trisha's life for her to feel that this is the only way she can get her point across. Now, yes, she called somebody crazy that has a mental health disorder. Yes, it affected a ton of people, including myself, because I've suffered with an exponential amount of mental health over many, many of the past years. But you have to analyse what she's done and think about it from a neutral point of view. I have to try and think about this as a point of view if I wasn't affected, because that would be an unbiased point of view. If I didn't have bad mental health, how would I take what she's done? So I see it from 2 points of view. Number one, what she did was terrible, and it affected a lot of people, a huge amount of people. In fact, it affected probably millions of people. A lot of people that saw that video will be affected because they were called crazy. But then you have to look at it from the other hand, that she has had to go to such lengths in order to make a video to get people to realise that there's an issue. And yes, Trisha has been seen as being a troll on the internet over many of the past years. And yes, she's renowned for trying to troll communities. And yes, if she's purposely trolling the community of mental health in order for some kind of personal gain, some personal points, then that is totally and utterly disgraceful. But you cannot assume that this is the case. In my opinion, I feel like Trisha has some problem with her. I don't know what that problem is. I don't know what kind of mental health disorder she may have. And I'm no expert and no person to put myself out there and say, yes, Trisha, you've got this disorder, or you've even got a disorder. But it is my personal, professional view, that as someone who experiences extremely bad depression and mental health, that I can see traits in her that might suggest she has got a mental health problem. I just think that the way she's done this and the way she's gone about it is entirely wrong. She's made videos almost pretending to have dissociative identity disorder. She's made videos pretending to have certain mental health problems. She's made videos contradicting one time being diagnosed and another time being self-diagnosed, sometimes saying she's never been diagnosed, other times saying she has. And she's had such contradictory behaviour, yet yes, no one can believe her, or no one will believe her, or no one wants to believe her. But why don't you want to believe anything she says? Well, the answer's very clear. You don't want to believe anything Trisha says because everybody is against her. And if everyone is against her, then you won't believe anything she says. And that's exactly what the comments are made up of. Simply people saying, I don't believe you, not only because you misinformed the public and almost appeared like you lied about having certain mental health disorders, but you've lied in the past. It's almost like a person who robs something or steals something being accused of stealing something else and no one believing that they've not stolen it because they've done it in the past. So you're saying, well, you stole in the past, so therefore you committed this offence, even if you may not have necessarily done that. Look, I'm trying to look at it from a point of view of being quite neutral, because I have been terribly upset by this whole situation. But I just cannot help to think that if Jeffree Star called someone crazy, how people would react. And whether you would react in the same way if Jeffree Star said it, or Shane Dawson said it, than you would with Trisha Paytas. Is it because you hate Trisha Paytas that you react differently, or would you react the same way? Well, I can guarantee one thing. If Jeffree Star or Shane Dawson said the same thing, you would act in an entirely different way. You would, well, not you necessarily as the viewer, but there will be millions of people, thousands of people out there that would go on a defending bandwagon about Jeffree Star or Shane Dawson and say how it was just something they said out of the blue, and how what they said probably didn't have much underlying meaning to it, and therefore, well, they can get away with it. People seem to have this thing where if they like somebody, they will defend them as much as possible. But if they don't like somebody, then they will defend them as least as possible. In anything they do, they will throw complete hate towards them. Now, by no means what I'm saying, Trisha has done something that is small. That is clearly small. That is clearly not the case, right? Clearly not the case. But I just can't help but feel people would respond differently if it was someone else that said it. And that is what my main point of the way that Trisha has been in this situation. I want to now explain why there has been an overhype of the term crazy, and why some people see it as an extremely damaging thing to say, and other people see it as just people reacting over something that otherwise they don't need to react over. So here's my explanation as to why what she said is terrible. Now, when I take my time back to high school, where I was called crazy. I was denied the way that I feel by my friends and by even people that were close to me, saying that even mental health didn't exist. Having bad mental health didn't exist. Having depression, well, apparently that didn't exist. People around me said, you're lying. You don't feel that way. What are you talking about? How can you be sad for nothing? Doesn't exist. And this obviously had an impact on me because I couldn't speak about the way that I feel. Because if I did, then people would deny the way I feel and deny that what I'm saying is true. And because people call you crazy, you technically become more crazy if you want to be quite literal. And for me, what happened is people call me crazy, and then you start to think that you're crazy. And you start to think that you have an issue with you and that you are wrong in society just because you feel upset. But I must add something, just because you have everything you would want at that time, maybe whether that's money, whether that's a house, whether that's a car, whether that's a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever you personally as a viewer, you who's watching this video wants. And whatever makes you happy, it doesn't mean that you will be happy overall. So you might, for example, have your career that you want. You might be going to the school you want to go to. You might be studying exams that you really enjoy or topics you really enjoy. But that doesn't mean that you're not depressed. And this is the thing, is my friends said the same thing to me. They said to me that because I was happy at school, because I went to parties, because I was happy around them, because I did things that they enjoyed, because I never was upset in front of them, I didn't have depression. And when I eventually spoke up to my friends about why I had depression, they called me crazy. But they didn't not only call me crazy, they called me a liar and said that what I was saying wasn't true. Because why would it be true logically? But that's the whole point. Logistics and logical thinking and logical behaviour and bad mental health and the mental health capacity and the mental health situations of people, they are not intertwined. They're not linked. They do not have a correlation between them. Having everything you want and bad mental health, it doesn't even mix at all. And this is why people are upset about Trisha Paytas. Why they're upset to Trisha Paytas. Is because she's called people crazy, and the experience that I've had is that when people call you crazy, it makes you more worse, more angry, more depressed. And I can see the 2 points of view here. People calling someone crazy when they have bad mental health, yes, is terrible. But the thing here is Trisha obviously called someone crazy with bad mental health. And it turned out, obviously, that they had an actual mental health disorder, dissociative identity disorder. And people are angry because a person of influential position has done this. But again, even of someone on the receiving end of the way Trisha has acted, I can't help but think that there's something going on in her life for her to feel that this is the only necessary step possible in order for her voice to be heard. Now, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of people, because that's what the internet generally does, come at me and throw me an extreme amount of hate because I appear like I am on the kind of defensive side of Trisha, but I certainly am not. After she made that video, I was very upset and I did cry for a period of time. In fact, as you can tell by this video, I am already still very upset. But for me, you have to be a neutral in situations. You cannot respond emotionally to situations, because if you do that, then your view is blocked. It's like putting a window that you cannot see through and trying to tell what's happening on the other side when you cannot see what's going on, but you can only hear it. I have to give my point of view in a neutral stance, where I give it without me being affected. But in this situation, it's impossible, because clearly I was affected, like probably yourself watching this video is as well. Or you was, should I say. Or you might still be affected by the situation. But I'm trying to look at it from a neutral standpoint. And once again, I will say very clearly that I think that in this particular situation, something significant must have happened for Trisha to feel that this is an okay thing to do. But now we need to talk about dissociated. This is a really tricky thing, because I need to be extremely careful of what I say to not upset people, but at the same time I need to be as honest and as open as possible. Look, it's as simple as this, guys. If you really like somebody, then you will always defend them. And if you don't like them, then you won't defend them at all. In this situation, I can't help but feel that everybody is defending dissociated because she's well liked and defending the mental health community. And because she's defending the mental health community, it almost feels like she is not able to have criticism. Because if you criticize someone that's liked, then you get hate, and no one wants to get hate, including myself. So you refuse to criticize them. So it feels like that no matter what Disassociate does at this point, everybody will go on her side. It reminds me of the James versus Tati situation. Do you remember when James, for example, didn't speak about the situation and everybody came out of these stories about James? So everyone believed Tati because Tati was standing up for the truth. Tati was standing up for the people. She was standing up for the common view. That's what I would say. But then when information started to come out and Tati Westbrook started to be exposed, people started to defend James. Because that's the way the internet goes. Whoever believes the most in a certain opinion, everybody will go on that side. So whoever believes in the most view, people will go on that side. And I can't help but feel that in this situation is very similar. Because this associate is defending the situation. And she's defending mental health. You can't criticise her because it's a sensitive topic. But again, I have to look at a neutral standpoint of me not being affected by the situation. And I think that you yourself as a viewer should try and do the same. It's not for me to tell you what to do, but I would hope that you try to do the same. It doesn't matter what this associate says. Most people will believe her and believe her as fact because she is the most popular view. The view that Trisha Paytas has faked everything. The view that Trisha Paytas is never in the right. And the view that Trisha Paytas gets everything wrong. So anything this associate says against Trisha, well, it must be true, right? It must be true. No, not necessarily. The villain doesn't always lie. And the hero doesn't always save people. If the hero was to lie, no one would believe them. And if the villain was to tell the truth, no one would believe them. When Trisha made a video saying that she has bad mental health, people didn't believe her. They didn't believe her because she faked this dissociative identity disorder. Very clearly she faked it. I'm no expert, but it was very clear she faked it. Or did she? Well, that is up for you to decide. Me personally, I think she did fake it because if you look at the way that dissociative identity disorder operates and the way it operates in people, with people that have it, shall I say, you can clearly see that, she's trying to identify as having it, but she probably doesn't have it. There's no guarantee she doesn't have it, but the likelihood is that she doesn't. But what you see in the comment section is a lot of people talking about, Trisha not having any mental health disorder because she lied about having a certain mental health disorder. Again, I will go back to what I said earlier. If a person steals something over and over again, and then eventually they don't actually steal but they're accused of doing it and they never did it, you would still think that they stole it because they did it in the past. Because you remember things they did in the past and you associate them with the present moment. With Trisha, you know in the past she's been a troll, you know in the past she's lied, and you know in recent times, even more so, that she's lied about having bad mental health. Mind my sec while I plug this in. Mind my sec, I don't make any sense. Therefore, you are going to say, most people will say, that means Trisha must be lying about this too, and that she must be lying about having any mental health disorder because she lied about it in the past. Not necessarily true. How can one person feel like they have to go to such lengths in order to pretend to have bad mental health or pretend to have a certain disorder if they don't have bad mental health? There have been various videos on the internet in recent times of some evidence that Trisha Paytas has got this dissociative identity disorder and some evidence that she doesn't. But what is clear to me is one thing. She does have some issue because once again, why would someone go to such extent to get attention if they do not have bad mental health or some kind of mental health disorder? Now, what I feel like we should do is we should go to Disassociated and we should go to her recent video and talk about it and talk about some suspicions I had even on her video. Because like I said, you have to be neutral here. Now, I know people are going to be watching this video and they're going to say to me, look, You can't say anything bad about Disassociative did because she's defended mental health. She showed about dissociative identity disorder. She can't get anything wrong. This is what the internet needs to change. You should be allowed to throw criticisms at people who are in the right or in the wrong. And you should be able to throw good things towards people that are in the right or in the wrong. You shouldn't just hate people because they do wrong and love people because they do right. Because ultimately, everybody can improve. Now, as I said just before I get on to Disassociative, with Trisha, what can she improve? Well, if she really has a bad mental health disorder, she needs to start getting action now. She needs to go out there and talk to someone off camera. Don't call it a safe space like she has. Go out there and talk to somebody and say, I need help, because she clearly does need some form of help. If she is a troll, then this is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen anyone do, and I will be totally disgusted. However, once again, be neutral. If she's not a troll, then in a small way, a very small way, I feel a little bit sorry for her. I feel a little bit sorry for her that ultimately, no matter what she does, no one will believe her. And if it comes out, like in the James situation, that she does actually have bad mental health, then how will you as a viewer feel if you sent her hatred? How would you feel if you sent her hate tweets? I've seen death threat tweets. I've seen tweets telling her to kill herself. You as a viewer and the rest of the people out there are defending bad mental health and defending people with mental health and defending them, saying that they shouldn't be denied the way they feel. But yet, you're denying the way Trisha feels because you don't actually know whether she does or doesn't have a bad mental health disorder. But you're happy to deny the way she feels because for Trisha, everybody doesn't like her. Therefore, you think it's an acceptable thing to deny the way that she feels. But if somebody does it to Disassociative and says that she is whatever and denies the way she feels, that's apparently totally unacceptable. But while people out there are telling people that you shouldn't be harmful to people because it can affect their mental health and you shouldn't deny the way they feel, the same people that are doing that are telling Trisha to kill herself. Can someone explain to me how this is acceptable in any form? So for me, it's very simple. Trisha may have an issue we do not know. And yes, she needs to get some kind of help. And yes, YouTube isn't her safe space, as she explains. But if she goes and gets that help, then that's good. And I think she needs to do it. But she doesn't need to do it on the internet. And she doesn't need to do it in front of millions of people because she's certainly not helping herself. And yes, if she is trolling, then once again, it's the most disgusting thing that probably any of us will ever see. But lastly, once again, on her, on Trisha, if it turns out that she does have bad mental health and people out there have told her to commit suicide and die and that she's disgusting, then how will you feel as a person being on that hype train against her? I'm not defending Trisha necessarily. I'm just saying from a neutral standpoint. Remember, I've been affected by the situation, as you can tell my voice. How would you feel if you were one of them people who sent hate towards her and it turned out that actually she does actually have a bad mental health disorder, or even further, she ends up doing something that none of us want to see?